The following segment is sponsored by Smith Injury Law and 300hurt.com.
This pandemic is certainly bringing up a lot of unprecedented legal questions. Now that businesses are opening up, a lot of employers are worried about potential liabilities in the workplace as well. Richard Smith of Smith Injury Law joining us. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Margaret.
So companies, do they need liability coverage in case somebody gets COVID-19 on the job?
Well, that's kind of a complicated question because in South Carolina and in North Carolina, an employee is limited to workers' compensation coverage if they're injured on the job. That includes obtaining an occupational disease. So, in South Carolina, I would think that employers do not need any kind of liability protection in terms of suits. Now, there's going to be an issue when it comes to occupational disease coverage, but it's going to be very difficult to prove those claims unless you are a nurse or a emergency worker or somebody that is regularly exposed to COVID-19 infected individuals. Those cases, I think you make a very strong case that you caught the virus from on-the-job exposure. But everybody else is going to have a very difficult time proving that they got the virus from work because they have to prove that they were at a greater risk to obtain the virus on their job and that they obtained the virus on their job. So those two things make it very difficult unless you are somebody like a healthcare worker who treats COVID-19 victims.
What are potential liabilities that are creating so much concern right now?
That's the biggest thing that employers are concerned about. That's part of the negotiations on the latest round of packages to try to help the economy. But like I said, I don't think that's the major issue. I think it's a bigger problem in terms of unemployment benefits not being there for people. And the fact that a lot of these jobs are going to be ending and not starting back up anytime soon. So I always try to look at it like we do at our firm. We always help the working class people. So if you're injured on the job, if you have a car accident, call us. We're the ones who take care of people who get injured and are working class people. There's a lot of people out there looking after the big businesses of the world. There's going to be a big airlines bailout. There's going to be a bailout for other types of industries. The small businessman is the one that's hurting and the worker.
Pandemic or not, every person does need a general understanding of workers' comp when they're working and how it applies. So if anyone watching does get injured on the job, talk us through that smart reaction. What should people do immediately?
First thing to do is report the injury. Even if they think it's not a serious injury. If it's just a cut or something at work, at least report it. They'll sew it up, go back to work, no problem. But what happens to people is they get hurt on the job and they think it's not a big injury. It ends up being a big injury and they have to have surgery or something down the road. And because they didn't report it properly or they thought they should just file it under health insurance, they did not report it properly, the case gets denied, and then we have a very difficult time winning their case if they told all the doctors that it didn't happen on the job because they were afraid of getting fired. Right. So if you get hurt on the job, report it. It may be nothing, but at least you have evidence that you reported the accident so that if it ends up being more than a minor injury and you really need an attorney to help you in your workers' compensation claim, you haven't already destroyed your case by not reporting it or by not telling the truth and saying that it happened someplace else because you were afraid that if you reported it to the doctor, they would, get fired. You would get fired. And that's the thing that's important to realize, that in South Carolina and North Carolina, we don't really have much by way of protections from getting fired. It's an employment at will state. So unless you have a union contract or something that protects, or just a regular employment contract that has provisions in that protects you from being terminated, there's nothing to protect you anyway. Right. So definitely don't let your rights be gone.
Right. Report that claim right away. Workers' comp, of course, just one of your practice areas. Tell us a little about what else you practice, what you handle at Smith Injury Law.
Well, we handle automobile accidents in North Carolina and South Carolina. We practice in both states. I handle the cases myself. I am bringing my partner, coming in very soon. He's going to be helping me with cases. He's also got almost the exact same experience as I do. I've worked with him for over 20 years. He's very, very qualified as well. So when you call us, you get me, or you're going to get the both of us. You're not going to get, quote, a lawyer at the firm. If you watch all the other big advertising attorneys, if you look at the fine print, it says, if you call us, you would get a lawyer at our firm. Well, that could be good, that could be bad. All I'm saying is when you call Smith Injury Law, you're going to get me or my new partner who's got as much experience as I do. So you're not going to get the young guy right out of law school, which is a big issue in my opinion.
And I think people are happy that they can work with you directly. That's pretty special. Anybody watching this right now can also request a book, a really valuable resource you put out there, 10 critical mistakes to avoid if you're injured in a car wreck. A lot of information inside that's valuable. You can get in touch with Richard Smith by calling 300-HURT or 300hurt.com, and you'll gladly send folks that book. Anything else you want to cover before we let you go today?
That's the main issue. Just remember, we're all dealing with some very difficult times here. Try to comply with the social guidelines, and remember that if you get hurt in a car accident or on the job, you don't want to come in. You don't want to be out in the open. We do everything online as well, so we can do sign-ups online. We can give out information online, and please request the book. We had several requests for the book last week, and we sent them out to people. It's free of charge. It's very good information. And we're here for you. We're here for the working person. That's what we're here for. So when you get hurt, call us. We're here to help you.
Perfect. Richard Smith of Smith Injury Law, thanks so much for being here with us, and we look forward to checking in with you again soon.
Thank you, Margaret.